Welcome into the Inquirer Podcast. Jeremy Werner, Derek Piper. We're right outside T-Mobile Arena. Beautiful day here in Las Vegas. Kind of a fall day, which is nice compared to what you guys are having back in Illinois. But we're talking about an Illinois loss, 70-61 to Virginia. Illinois had a lead with 3.5 minutes left, but only scored one more field goal in the next 5 minutes, basically the rest of the game. So they fall, Derek, weren't able to close out a victory against a veteran, tough, a team that really guards in the Cavaliers. What's your big takeaway from a loss where Illinois showed again it can compete against some of the best teams in the country, but Virginia obviously did some things to bother them?
Yeah, you look down the stretch there, and Virginia did a great job on Terrence Shannon throughout the entire game, but that was a theme for where Shannon was frustrated and trying to really force the issue. And with Virginia's pack line defense, they not only have good on-ball defenders, but then they had the guys in the gaps, and Shannon was loose with the ball, 6 turnovers today, I should say. And that just got tough for Illinois, trying to figure out where to go down the stretch where Shannon was out of rhythm, and then Meyer wasn't really in the game later, wasn't a factor late. Jaden Epps had a really nice game, and he's one of the bright spots this game and the weekend, but took some tough ones, and Illinois just dried up offensively. Still, you feel like, and it makes sense for a team that's still figuring it out, is, who are we in the late stretches of those moments? What are we dialing up? Cohesion, obviously, it's a similar theme and storyline, but Virginia, super disciplined, tough, physical team, great defense, veteran guard play, and ultimately in a game that was largely back and forth and offensively challenged kind of for the most part, they just kind of outlasted you.
Yeah, Virginia, we know Tony Bennett, coming from his dad, Dick Bennett, ran similar defense, this pack line defense. They just made Terrence Shannon uncomfortable all the day. And we saw, Derek, like, this guy's really good. He's going to be really good, but he hasn't done this a lot. And teams are going to scout him now. Great teams are going to scout him now. He's not going to make his shots every game, but just the looseness with the ball, 6 turnovers today. I thought he tried to force some things late. Jaden Epps probably tried to force some things late, trying to make that hero play. Illinois could just never make a run. We're going to look back at it at some point. It just never felt like there was more than 6 straight points from Illinois at any point in this game. That's a credit to Virginia. But also, I think you said it, Derek, a team that's still figuring itself out, especially in the half court. Virginia would not let them run today. 3 fast break points all day for Illinois. Virginia won the style. They played. This is the style of play they wanted, and they got to the free throw line at 25 free throws. I don't want to make this an officiating thing like yesterday, but Illinois did foul, right? Like they fouled Virginia, and Virginia was able to get to the free throw line. Illinois wasn't, and at the end of the day, I thought Illinois defended well, except for the fouling.
Yeah, and Virginia, credit to them getting the ball close to the basket, both on offensive rebounds and then just drives, and the way Illinois was switching or just trying to have some help, there'd just be another guy, or they just put so much pressure there on the rim. And when you're getting that many opportunities that close to the basket, you're going to draw contact and you're going to get to the free throw line. So Virginia was able to produce consistent offense by getting to the free throw line. Illinois only shooting 9 free throws, didn't have that for them. I mean, Shannon shooting 2. You're not going to see that very many nights. It is a credit for Virginia to be able to keep him away from the basket. So, yeah, Virginia's they're a good team. I know that you look on paper, and in terms of the 4 teams in town today, they don't have the marquee on the mock draft type of talent. I know Reese Beekman, who was a big standout for them, is one that they get into Athletic. He's a late second-round pick as of now. But Skye Clark was another one that Illinois really had trouble slowing down early. And that's the thing for Illinois, is just trying to get a feel for who you are down the stretch and just in general, and have some guys iron out some of the early, the process of figuring things out. So I think with freshmen, that's to be expected. With Dane, that kind of was an interesting dynamic today with the way Virginia collapses inside, and I think Illinois wanted to be able to spread them out as much as they possibly can. Obviously, when you have Dane in there, that takes away some spacing. But then again, Dane was good on the glass, number one, and can give you some close range shot attempts too. So, the great point about as far as the fast break points, it was Virginia owning the style. Then also, I didn't think Illinois could turn the ball over and win. Now, in the first half, they only had 3, I think, but 10 in the second half, and that was a pretty big difference maker.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Dane Danger didn't play much in the first half because, as Brad said, they had a good flow. I think Brad really likes stretching out. Shendrick got into foul trouble. The other big man wasn't very mobile. So they're finding some things offensively through that. I think R.J. Melendez had a really good first half. Meyer got a few buckets, but Jaden Epps really got going because all the attention they were giving Shannon seemed to give Epps some room to operate. That is a huge positive from this, Derek, is Jaden Epps has not looked scared. Like, he looks like a top 50 guard. He looks like a guy that's going to lead Illinois in scoring at some point in his career, whether it's sophomore year or junior year. He just gets buckets, whether it's driving to the lane, he's put guys on a rope or a string there with some of his handling. He's really taking care of the ball as a freshman, and then we know he can score. Just made some decisions late that probably weren't that great, didn't finish some of those shots, maybe want some decisions back, but this kid's a baller. And 14 points tonight, feels like, I don't know what he's averaging, but it's over double digits on the season so far. He has asserted himself as a secondary scorer, and to have him off the bench, to have Dane Danger off the bench, that's one thing you got to love through 5 games, Derek, is this team has depth that when Terrence Shannon isn't great or Matthew Meyer isn't great or Coleman Hawkins has a bad first half, you have other dudes who can go score, whether it's Skye Clark, Dane Danger, Jaden Epps, and all them.
Yeah, for Jaden to be establishing that already so early in the season is really encouraging. We knew that his ability to score was the biggest asset for him coming out of high school, but the fact that he was able to get into the soft spots of the defense for Virginia, like you said, they were putting the attention on Terrence Shannon. So when Jaden was able to beat his guy, really it was an open lane to the basket and hit a nice floater, got to the rim for some finishes too. And late, yeah, maybe forced a few things, but then again, they needed him to be aggressive and try to go make a play. But 2 steals. He's a guy that, with his quickness, his strength for a freshman, can play some pretty good defense. And there's just some learning moments for him still. But the fact that he's been this productive, the fact that he's already had 3 podium games so far, I think that speaks a lot to what Brad is seeing out of him.
Does that lead the team? Does he lead the team in podium games? I think it's over Shannon, right? Shannon might be tied.
Might be up there. Yeah, a tie, I think. But definitely for a freshman off the bench to be getting that, it shows that Brad's got a lot of trust in him, faith in him, and that's been certainly a bright spot. I think to this point, he's just looked more comfortable than Skye has. Yeah. And we can talk about Skye still trying to be assertive offensively, because one thing I noticed a few times when he would go in for those rebounds, if he just turned around, he might actually have a putback, or he might have like a mid-range jumper that's there. I love the fact that he is going for those rebounds defensively. Or even there were a couple offensive rebounds for him tonight. He does hit the open 3 as far as a spot up pretty well, and is trying to play within the offense, but he just maybe doesn't look quite as comfortable.
I think with Skye, he's got what a lot of freshmen don't have, in that he's got poise, he's got composure, and he wants to do the right thing for the team. He's not forcing things, right? But at some point, you know how talented he is. He can get to the free throw line. He can hit threes. We know he's strong around the bucket. He's not really looking for a shot when he penetrates, right? At some point, Brad Underwood continues to say, we need him to assert himself. That's a good problem to have for most freshmen, but at some point, I think it'll click for him, Derek. But that's his next step, to have another guard. If you can have him and Jaden on top of Terrence Shannon being as good as he is, Matthew Meyer and Coleman Hawkins can stretch defenses out. R.J. Melendez hits a couple threes, didn't put it all together, but had a good first half. And then Dane Danger on the interior. That's just so many answers to everything. That's what's exciting about this team, is they still they feel like they're a little ahead after beating UCLA of where we thought they could be. They still got some gelling to do. They still got some roles to figure out. I think R.J. Melendez and Ty Rodgers are kind of trying to figure out their roles along with Matthew Meyer. But Skye Clark, it might be, hey, we need you to go be former 5-star recruit Skye Clark at times. But the fact that he is poised and has composure, some guys might not have that as a freshman.
Right, and not every team's going to have the defensive chops as Virginia does, but it is going to be a game plan or just a theme going forward of, okay, we're going to really commit those help defenders to Shannon and try to clog up those lanes for him, because you know how big of an asset is when he's able to get to the rim, finish, get to the free throw line. If you can possibly take that away, that's a big advantage. So on that note, as that gravity goes into the paint, you're going to have, Skye get some open looks. You're going to have some other guys be able to be freed up. And Skye, if he's your 4th, 5th option offensively as a scorer in that starting lineup, of course, and then depending on whatever you're throwing out there, if he can be more aggressive and put him in some ball screens and be able to get to a mid-range and a floater or go to the rim, like you said, he's strong enough to make those plays. That could be a real thing. But I mean, he's in a tough spot to be a true freshman starting at point guard. I mean, that's a tough thing to have to go through and deal with. And I know that he's a little bit more ahead of Jaden in terms of the facilitating part of the game, but still want him to just find another level of comfort. And again, you circle back to the fact that he hasn't played a ton of basketball games here over the last year and a half.
I think a guy that is kind of gives you a lot of hope and has been positive in many ways, but then he's been negative. Coleman Hawkins was just a second half player in Vegas. In the second half, he looked like a top 45 draft pick, right? In the first half, he didn't look like an all Big Ten player, though, in those games. 0 points, 1 rebound in the first half, missed all 5 shots. All 5 shots he took, including a couple threes. I like that Coleman took threes with confidence today, and that eventually paid off. Kudos to him. Big second half, 10 points, 3 blocks, ended up with 3 assists on the game. He's such a good facilitator, Derek. But, man, if they could get him consistency throughout a game, I'm not as worried about it offensively because he's going to miss some shots. And, he was 0 for 3 in the first half from 3, 2 for 2 in the second half. But if they could get a full game out of it from Coleman Hawkins, at times he looked like the best player on the court in the second half.
He did. I love the activity defensively with the blocks of being able to come over and help and get that done. You mentioned the passing, which he does need to still clean up. Sometimes he puts it on the floor and maybe tries to do a little too much and is just loose with it.
Him and RJ Melendez are a little loose with that handle right now.
Yeah, RJ needs to tighten that thing up for sure. Coleman to make some threes. First threes he's hit since the opener was good to see. But, yeah, it's been really, I think and you mentioned it's not all about scoring, it's not, but the last 4 first halves, I think he has 2 points combined. So he needs to be able to be more of a steadying influence for this team early on in games and across the full spectrum of a game. But I thought to say Coleman played bad today. It's just that you kind of need a little bit more out of him because he was so good in the second half.
So, Derek, what do you think they learned from today, especially offensively? Because defensively, I thought Illinois was really good besides the fouling part. Besides giving up free throws, their free throw defense was bad tonight. But I thought they were really good defensively. Virginia is probably going to be one of the best defensive teams they play all season. But we know the Big Ten, there are a lot of teams that like to bog things down, including Wisconsin. I don't know if they're as talented as Virginia, but you're going to see – that's what's great about this game is you saw a UCLA team that maybe Iowa plays like, right? Then you see Virginia, who Wisconsin plays like. What do you think they learned from playing an attack like Virginia, that pack line defense, and when they really struggle to get the ball inside to Dane Danger and Terrence Shannon struggles to get to the rim?
Yeah, I think it does. One thing is going to emphasize the importance of defensive rebounding because to be able to run, to be able to get out on the fast break against a team that doesn't want you to, you got to be able to hit the glass and really get that thing going because otherwise when Virginia can get second chance opportunities, get to the free throw line, they can just stagnate the game and slow it down. So I think that Illinois will see the emphasis of, hey, we got to hit the defensive glass a little bit better. Offensively, you're still going to play through Terrence Shannon. You're still going to try to get him as much opportunities as possible. It's just understanding, okay, when help comes from these different directions, when guys cheat from this side. There was a lot of times where backside help would be rotating, and Virginia was great in their defensive rotations, and that's been a strong point of what they do for a long time under Tony Bennett. It's just understanding, okay, you see it on film, this corner is going to be open. You got to make that skip pass. We got to hit that 3, or just those type of things. And I would have liked to see Dane get the ball more. I thought that with this matchup, it was a little bit more unique than what we've seen, or just unique from what we had seen the first 4 games, in that Virginia had size at the 5. But I thought this might have been one where you hit Dane on some short rolls, hit him on the free throw line area, and then let him go to the rim and finish and make some of those plays off the dribble. He does get in trouble sometimes when he over dribbles, he overspins. But I would have liked to see a little bit more of working him in when some things offensively were starting to bog down.
Yeah, he played 7 minutes in the first half, and I kind of looked at you and said, does Brad not see like something that he doesn't like, the matchup? But then Dane played a huge part in the second half. 5 defensive rebounds for Illinois. He had almost a quarter of their defensive rebounds when they were giving up some second chance points there. And he wasn't as efficient tonight because of the size that Virginia threw out at him, 2 of 5 from the field, but he still had 5 points in the half court, right? And got a second chance opportunity, I believe, and scored. I was kind of surprised that they didn't go to him more because He's one of the best offensive players, Derek. Like, it's through 5 games. Dane Danger and Terrence Shannon couldn't ask for much more despite Shannon's game tonight. But I thought that was an interesting play by Brad Underwood.
It was, and to circle back, I think it was part of the floor spacing angle. I also understand that you guard things a little bit differently with Dane, and that you're putting him in drop coverage, and with the way that Skye Clark was going off and Reese Beekman, the fact that Shannon or Hawkins at the 5 can then put the pressure there on the perimeter a little bit more defensively. But yeah, I think that it showed Danger's impact. You needed that rebounding effort that he was able to provide there. Did get 5 points. He had a close range attempt late in that game that he just kind of short armed and hit front rim, and that would have been a big basket late. But yeah, they're going to continue to try to get him the ball. And now it is kind of maybe a little bit different of, okay, what if he's facing legit 7-foot size or whatnot, and how does that change, or does it change anything?
I asked Brad Underwood after, you wanted to come to this tournament to really test yourselves. They test themselves. There are 4 high-level teams here, and this was a phenomenal event. Great job by the people here in Vegas, but great job putting together a great field of teams. 4 really good teams that all have a chance to go deep in the NCAA tournament, Derek. And I think we can say that about Illinois, because this team this weekend, Brad said, we found out we're pretty good. We could be really, really good. And we see that. I mean, this is a team with really the least returning. You know, they did add transfers, but this is the team that should be gelled the least out of all of these teams that are here, yet they beat UCLA, who's got 2 great veterans along with a really good freshman class. You know, Virginia's very, very talented, but, you know, Baylor team's adding a couple pieces, but still, that's a lot of veterans that have returned from a lot of NCAA tournament experience. Illinois got a few of those guys in Terrence Shannon and Matthew Meyer, but they haven't all played together. I don't know if we're saying they're ahead of schedule, Derek, but they certainly have the talent to overcome maybe some of those issues, whether it's turnovers in the first game or tonight Terrence Shannon being off. This is one of the best teams in the Big Ten for sure, and it's a team that could be really scary in February and March when all these guys kind of have it figured out what their roles are and they gain more confidence.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think that it is fair to say when you come here 1-1, I mean, could have been better, but the fact is, like, to beat a top 10 UCLA team and to be leading Virginia with 3.5 to go, you didn't close it, not to do the whole moral victory thing, but I think that they have given indications of maybe a little bit ahead of where you thought they would be, or what a team that's trying to gel and just have so much to put together that's new is going through. So defensively, they look really good. They have a chance to be outstanding defensively with how they can be disruptive, with how they can dial up the pressure in the full court, just use token and get back and switch. They're still going to have to figure out some moments where they don't want to switch, or certain matchups that they want to try to stay away from, or just what needs to happen when there is a point guard on a big man, and how do you get yourself out of that situation. But the length, the athleticism, all the things we talked about throughout the offseason were very much on play throughout this weekend, which was impressive to see. I mean, to make Tiger Campbell as uncomfortable as he was, it's a pretty big deal. And offensively, it's not super surprising that it still has to come around and that turnovers are an issue. Terrence, even when you factor in today's game, has been everything you could have wanted. And, with Matthew Meyer still trying to get into a rhythm, everything. This team and all these teams, it sounds like I've said it before, we have throughout the weekend, it felt like an NCAA tournament, like regional final today, chance to go to the Final Four. Obviously, Illinois lost, but they'll be a lot better down the road, and a chance to really use this as a teaching experience and to be in a similar situation, lots to play for down the line in March too.
Yeah, Brett Underwood even mentioned like the quick turnaround, the timing of this, playing a late game on a Friday night and an early game on Sunday, very much like an NCAA tournament. So a lot of these guys haven't experienced that outside of Terrence Shannon and was it Matthew Meyer? A lot of those guys haven't experienced a lot of that. Coleman a little bit, RJ a little bit. But even those guys playing different roles, I think we're seeing some growing pains of those guys figuring out what their roles are now that Kofi Coburn and Trent Frazier and DeMonte Williams aren't here. So Illini fans, man, you guys showed up. Like, this was a phenomenal event. You guys made it ridiculous. I heard some of the national guys talking, and they're saying Illinois travels as well as anybody. Maybe Kentucky is number one. And And they're saying Arizona travels really well, but they're saying Illinois, you're right there. So you impressed a lot of people today. And I know the coaches and the players were really appreciative of it. I just saw RJ Melendez tweet out about it. And I was impressed as hell, Derek. We met so many people coming up to us and talking to us about Illinois and what we do at the site. It was just an awesome event, and Illinois fans, man, they show they are one of the best in the country.
Oh, absolutely. And they are.
Whether that's crazy or not.
I mean,
that's part of it, though, right? The passionate.
It's a good kind of crazy,
yes.
I think. And the roars in there for that crowd were just ridiculous. And then to see them out on the strip and so many guys, people going by this morning when Brett and I are doing the pregame show, and then when we just got a bite to eat out here, just the establishments near the arena are just filled with Illini fans, and so much passion, so much hunger for a really good program. They have one now, and really all it's missing is the deep run of the NCAA tournament that this team is capable of. And part of learning that, I know we've hit on it, is just the fearlessness of these freshmen. Yep. For them to be able to come out here and to face this kind of competition, to be away from Champaign, where sometimes, you get that split, the very predictable split of freshmen play better in your home arena, and then you go on the road, maybe not as good. What Epps gave you tonight, Sincere Harrison flashes, Skye had some good moments here. Ty Rogers is the one that still needs to get some things figured out, but that was one thing that I definitely learned. And there's some differences between some other teams that are freshman reliant or just need those kind of performances from theirs, that there have been some growing pains versus what Illinois got, which is some pretty good contributions.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing in this game right now, but like Amari Bailey, it seemed like that moment was big for him. I think Jaden Epps showed. And Skye at points, like Skye, he rebounds, like he reminds me flashes of Andres Felice, the way he attacks the glass and plays a role into that. And they need that without a Kofi Coburn on the court. So those things are good to see. And, man, Sincere Harris only played 9 minutes again today. But when he got in the game, Derek, he is just – he's different, man. He's definitely got that dog in him, and it's just infectious. Like, offensively, he's got some challenges there, though. He's been better from three early on. Today, he had 3 points on the game, but he was a +7. Like, when he comes on the court, it just seems like the energy almost always is positive for Illinois so far this year. So for him to be even playing a better role than we thought, like he's kind of playing the role we thought maybe Ty Rogers would play early on this season. So again, that depth is one of the biggest pluses so far this season.
It is. He's such a gritty competitor. He's not scared. And I mean, you're seeing why. I know that it was kind of a bold statement to tell Brad Underwood this offseason, I'm going to make you forget about Trent Frazier, which of course isn't true. That won't happen. But he's going to be a really good defender. And as his offensive game progresses, he got a chance to be just a really good overall player. I think his three-point stroke is decent.
Yeah. The one tonight that didn't go in was it looked perfect coming out of his hand.
Yeah, it was right on. It's the finishing around the rim that is a big thing that he's got to improve on and get more comfortable with and execute. But I've been very pleased with him. Ty, I think that the energy is there, the rebounding and physicality is there, almost too physical sometimes with the fouls. Would like to see him look for his shot a little bit more. I'm not saying that he needs to shoot jump shots because that's not who he is. But even when he goes in there for boards, look to maybe get back up, get a shot on the rim, shot fake, go into somebody. He's going to have to step up and make free throws too. But I would like to see him be a little bit more of a factor. Scoring-wise, I think he's capable of that in small doses.
We're going to wrap up here, but let's get to a few of your comments. Ethan says that points seem to lack urgency to take advantage of some possible runs. This team I have not worried about effort, energy. I didn't think urgency was an issue. I thought they pressed too much late. I thought Terrence Shannon made a bad decision. I thought Jaden Epps, I don't mind him taking some shots, but some of those, Brad Underwood wanted the jump stop on one where he's kind of out of control at the rim. There's some decisions I think you want back, but I don't think it was a matter of urgency or desire, Derek. That's what's great about this team with how talented they are. They do seem to play so damn hard, and they're tough. Like, Mick Cronin was questioning his team's toughness. Brad Underwood was not doing that after this weekend. Right.
No, I agree with you as far as the urgency goes. I think there were maybe some stretches where could have used maybe a more all-out effort on the defensive glass to make sure. There were a few times where Virginia was just getting 2-3 looks at a shot on a possession because they were able to attack the glass with maybe a little bit more of an intensity than Illinois. But outside of that, I didn't think it was urgency that was an issue. There was just some sloppiness offensively and just a lack of execution in some moments.
Steve said Skye Clark needs to step up and lead this team. I hope he does. Yeah, we talked a lot about that. I think Brad Underwood's really pushing for that assertiveness. Skye's trying to play his role, but that role at some point can be a primary scorer at some point. T. Scott, why the lack of post actions in the half court? You would think Meyer can have a mismatch down there. Brad said he waited too long to put Matthew Meyer back in the game because I do think Meyer was 2 of 7 today, right? 0 of 2 from 3. I thought he took good shots here. Like there are a couple that were a little rushed. Shannon had some of those as well. I thought he looked more comfortable out here, especially offensively there.
I agree. I think that he looked pretty decent today. Effort on the glass, I think, was one thing that's been encouraging the last 2 games for him. And yeah, I think that just the way that he was moving is a little bit better, more of an improvement from the first week and a half for him. I think as far as the post game goes, I know that throughout the offseason, Brad talked about trying to get Meyer in some post ISOs, maybe even put him, in the spread and try to like second cut post that. We haven't seen the spread offense, by the way. I don't know if he will, but I don't know. That's also not really a strength of his game. I don't think that posting guys up has been something that he's really done a whole lot of, but still working through it. But some signs of encouragement and progress for sure, especially the UCLA game.
All right, if we want to go urgency, I would have said urgency to get Dane Danger the ball at some points in that second half when they needed a bucket in the worst way. Is Matt Meyer's shoulder okay, Jake asked. We don't know. He seemed fine. I thought there was a great case for a hook and hold there. It certainly looked like a hook and hold, and that could have changed the game. I saw somebody else, Derek, ask about officiating. There were a couple calls. I mean, that's going to happen every game. I thought Skye Clark might have gotten away with an offensive foul that went Illinois' way. And the referees did catch up. Illinois got in the bonus very late in that game. Virginia got early in the second half, but Illinois caught up pretty quickly there. They just weren't able to get to the free throw line. Virginia was, and I do think Illinois was fouling more than Virginia.
Yeah, from our vantage point, I think as far as the free throws that Virginia got, it was just, like I said, they were putting pressure on the rim. They were getting second chance opportunities, and I didn't feel like it was necessarily a bad whistle. Now, of course, there's going to be a handful of calls one way or the other that were touchy or were the wrong way to go about it. But the Meyer looked like, I know that with Fran Fraschilla and crew sitting right in front of us, we got a close look at some of the replays. It definitely looked like Vanderplas had his arm and yanked the shoulder. So that should have been a hook and hold for sure. But I didn't think it was like Illinois got jobbed or anything.
We're not going to go Brett Bielema.
No. I don't want to spend too much time talking refs, right? I mean, it was a good basketball game, and things dried up offensively late, and you can learn from it.
Let's see. One more. Jake said they seem slightly lost in the half court. Do you anticipate more sets or still try to set more freely and hope it comes with time, Derek? I'll let you answer that for the most part, but I think the lack of transition game really hurt because that is where Illinois is so dangerous. And let's be honest, that's where Terrence Shannon is ridiculously dangerous. He only had how many free throw attempts today? 2.
Yeah.
He drew 6 fouls, but only 2 free throw attempts. He was 3 of 9 from the free throw line this weekend, which was kind of odd for an 80% shooter. But to answer Jake's question, do you think more sets, or is it still just this free-flowing offense?
I think that as you learn what it's going to look like as far as how defenses react to certain looks, how they're going to play Terrence coming off a ball screen, you're going to maybe have some actions or just some counters to what those teams are going to do. For the most part, Brad wants to keep it free-flowing, and outside of when Danger's in there, which you're going to dial up some high-low action and try to get some post-ups for the big man. But I think there will be at times that, and Brad even said it, he admitted, like, I made some mistakes today. I'm still learning how to use these guys and push the right buttons. I think that as the season goes on, you'll see more of that. And there will be games where Brad won't like the shots, he won't like the composure, maybe the sloppiness, and he will start to call some more set plays. But for the most part, I think they do want to just kind of play in their 5-out motion. And I think this team, as time goes on, will just have more of a feel of how to play off of each other. And that will just come natural as the season goes on.
Yeah, like I've seen some people, did Virginia out-coach Illinois today? Listen, Tony Bennett has had these guys in his program for 4 or 5 years, most of them outside of Vanderplas, who I'm a big fan of. So he knows what to go to, how to motivate them. Like Brad Underwood's still feeling that out. He's obviously, I think this was a good weekend for Illinois basketball for the most part. But yeah, he said, like, I'm still learning what I can do, what I can call, what actions I need to do, how I need to rotate my guys. First half last game, you didn't play Sincere Harris. And then he plays him in the second half, looks like a genius after that because Sincere Harris changed the game. So that's part of this too, is it's not only the players gelling, but Brad Underwood gelling and his coaching staff figuring out what can we do, what can't we do. We saw that with Ryan Walters with football. I've seen that with Barry Lunny with football, right? Like, it takes time to figure out your personnel and how to put them in the best positions to succeed.
Yeah, that's going to come. And I think, Virginia bringing back all 5 starters. You get a guy in Vanderplas who's an older guy out of Ohio, talented, and Virginia has their style. I thought that the way that Skye Clark was able to break down the defense really put Illinois in a tough spot, and it opened some more things up for Virginia in the half court than it did Illinois. But yeah, it's just as far as learning the personnel, the players understanding what's going to be open in certain spots and how to look for each other. I think that one thing I take away, and especially if it's not going to be more set based, is there needs to be more off ball cutting. Like when you space it all the way out, 5 out, and you leave an open lane. There was one early in the game where Meyer cut from the corner down the baseline. Shannon found him. There's not been enough of that. And I think that's just kind of read and react and teammates getting on the same page, but also emphasizing, hey, we got to be able to have those where you're getting darts to the rim. And usually when Coleman's playing the 5, it's an open lane.
Yeah, what I was going to say, like, you have Terrence Shannon, who's a far better passer than advertised. 6 assists was a career high tonight. Coleman Hawkins is a great passer for the most part. Like, those other guys, Matthew Meyer, RJ Melendez, with the athletes those guys are. Ty Rodgers, I think, offensively can get some buckets that way. And somebody asked, what does Ty Rodgers need to do to get minutes? It's the thing Sincere Harris is doing, which is guarding really well without fouling, giving energy. I think Ty's giving energy, and he's one of their best rebounders for sure. It's just he's fouling a lot, and he's not adding much offensively at this point. So it's an exciting team, though, Derek. I think this team, I agree with Brett Underwood. I think this team's going to be really good, really exciting, but we will probably see some ups and downs. They got Lindenwood in Syracuse, who's not very good, but another great defensive test for them given their zone. And then you get Texas, who right now is number 1 in the Ken Pom, might be number 1 or 2 in the country when the AP poll comes out this week. And I would imagine Illinois climbs up a couple spots, potentially in the top 15.
Yeah, deserving of it. They're not going to be probably a huge shift for it. I think Seth Davis got asked on his walk into the press conference whether he's going to put Illinois and Virginia both in the top 10. I think he said somewhere in the 15 range for Illinois, and Virginia obviously will be a top 10 team. But the Lindenwood game will just be a tune-up and one that you're going to try to stay awake for 8 o'clock on a day after Thanksgiving. But Syracuse has not looked good. You mentioned the zone, and I'm sure they will try to collapse. They usually have the length and try to take away the lane. They will give up the 3-point shot. They'll try to take it away from Shannon. But that Texas game, and boy, what a value of playing UCLA and Virginia already to really get tested and to see where you stack up a week or so from now. And also you're going to mix in a game at Maryland. It's a week from Friday. So big tests awaiting yet again. And there's just going to be a lot to gain when you go back to Champaign, get on the practice court, and be able to work off of what they showed this weekend. It's a really fun team, and Friday night's comeback was pretty awesome.
Big quad 1 victory early in the season. They're going to have many opportunities for those coming up. For Derek Piper, thank you guys for coming up to us, saying hi if you were in Vegas. Thank you guys for watching us. Shout out to Joey Wagner for covering Illinois football for us while we were enjoying Vegas here a little bit and get to see a high-level college basketball event, as well as a stadium swim experience. That was pretty dang fun. So thank you guys for all the support, for allowing us to go out on trips like this. We couldn't do it without your guys' support. So give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts, a rating, review as well. Give us a like here on the videos whenever you can on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to us here so you get all the videos, all the alerts when we do new videos as well. We're going to try and do this for every post game. And as well, check out the website. We got plenty more content coming from Las Vegas and a lot more for football heading into our rivalry week, and a huge opportunity in recruiting as well for Illinois football over the next couple of weeks. So for Derek Piper, I'm Jeremy Werner saying bye from Las Vegas. Everybody take care of each other. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer podcast.